Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, that is Eddie Vega.
And that is Chibi Orduña.
And this is worse. And this is worse.
Brought to you by the Blog Poetry Spot and Write Art Out.
The show where you get to know the person behind the poetry. Eddie, how excited are you for winter break?
You have no idea. You have no idea. Because I get to catch up on a lot of things. And one thing that I want to catch up right now is on The Queen's Gambit. Have you seen that?
I have not. I've heard a lot of good things.
I would highly recommend that. Me and my girlfriend are watching that right now, and that's tough because I can only watch it when she's around. So, because I don't want to cheat on that. Like watch a show without somebody you're supposed to be watching it with.
Oh yeah. My husband and I are the same way, and it is like cheating if you if you watch an episode without the other person. Like that's just not okay.
Not okay.
So it's on our list. We actually talked about it today. Watching The Queen's Gambit. We're not alone. Lady Di just started watching it as well. It's the hot button topic. Good stuff, she says. There you go. If she says it's good, then I'm gonna trust her word for it. But it's good that you got something planned for your break time.
Yeah.
And I asked that because our guest tonight takes no breaks.
No,
absolutely not. This lady is a hustler in the best of senses. She is out there hitting the pavement. She's got projects on projects on projects, and I'm just so excited that she found the time to be with us tonight. Tell us a little bit about our guest.
Yes. ShaCondria icon Sibley is an Alexandria, Louisiana native and longtime New Orleans-based award-winning poet, author, performing artist, visual artist, teaching artist, host, event curator, and creator of the viral To All the Little Black Girls with Big Names movement. She's a multi-time National Poetry Slam champion and performer. She travels the country and has made many television and on-stage appearances, including on TV1's Verses and Flow and on the main stage at the Essence Music Festival. Her work has been featured on many outlets such as the Huffington Post, for Harriet, Teen Vogue, InStyle, BET, and BBC World Radio. She's also featured on musical projects with multiple national recording artists and has co-written 2 short films. iCon uses her work and words largely to speak on her existence as a Southern Black woman as it relates to identity, family, community, faith, and healing. And speaking of winter, her first published work, My Name is Pronounced Holy, will be available in winter of 2020. That's coming up.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, iCon, the one and only.
GB, Eddie V, how are you too?
Great. I should have meant to mention and author of one of my favorite slam poems ever. That the and now, of course, right now, since I didn't write it down, I'm not thinking about it.
You're having a brain fart.
Trigger warning is one of my favorite.
Trigger warning. Oh.
I have to say too, just to give credit where credit is due, we definitely wrote a group piece that was elevated after we saw the name of this poem is poem. Hey. And it was like, what if we do that in this poem? And we did, and it like blew it up. So like you are an inspiration to us all.
Isn't that
I appreciate that. Well, that poem originally was worked from a format by Mahogany Brown originally. It was the working title format. So I do want to give her props on creating that format. But yeah.
See, and that's how art works. One person trickles to the next, to the next, to the next, and it just spreads and flows, and it's such a wonderful thing. And you are a curator of spaces as well, so we appreciate all that you've done for the community and such. But we'll get into all of that in a moment, okay? What we're going to do, and before we do this, let me just preface this to everybody watching on Facebook. Please use the comment section. We watch the comment section. Amir is already clapping for iCon.
Stop me.
We watch the comment section. So use the comment sections to interact with us over here and to ask iCon your questions. We will get to them. We usually get to all of them. So be part of the conversation. Use the comment section. But that being said, let's go ahead and start off the way we start off every week and just hand the show over to you, my friend. And please bless us with some poetry.
I shall. I'll just do a couple and then we'll talk about some things throughout the show. So the first poem, I recently took down my braids, as a lot of Black girls do. We wear these protective styles, these ways of expressing ourselves through our hair, through our looks, through the way we care for each other and care for our hair with our hands. And so this is the gospel of girls who do hair, an edge and people snatching word. Amen. Amen. Um, ain't they something, these hands, these magical Black girl hands, how they can weave protective prayers into weary scalps, literally, like abracadabra, a little blue magic into our palms, and poof, all your day's worries and nappy edges are gone. See, this kind of honor is our birthright, passed down from our grandmamas. Us sitting on the kitchen floor watching our grandmother wave over that stove, that hot pressing comb like it was a wand with all of that smoke and fire. See, this kind of tradition is our apprenticeship that crossed over on ships. How with enchained together palms, we still manage to carry the muscle memory of gripping edges and trying our damnness not to go over them. You know, some say hair braiders in many ancient cultures were considered healers, those with access to the head, to the crown chakra. I guess that's why my grandmama always say, be careful who you let get in your head. Tell them don't throw that shed hair away, for fear a bird will come and make nest of it and drive you crazy someday. No, instead, remember the smoke and fire in your grandmama's hand, make ash of the hair and return it to the dust from which it came, like poof. Watch a magic Black girl sitting on the front porch or in the front room or in the kitchen or in the beauty shop teach a whole entire history lesson about how this country was built using nothing but her hands. How she be braiding patterns into hair so we do not forget the weight of freedom. Tired, aching feet from standing all day, arthritic hands balled up in a fist like kitchens, resisting the greasy finger griot who do business by word of mouth. The same way we people share all things we consider sacred. She who has mastered the art of catching and gripping that which other folk allow to slip right through their fingers. Hair savior, walking on waves across continents of coils, create culture out of cucker bugs, expert in economics 101, that is, how to take nothing, i.e. your edges, and turn them into something, and ain't they something? These Old Testament hands, how they make perfect Red Sea geometry of parts, these ancient Kemetic hands, how they make perfect geometry of box braids, DNA kinky twisting good hair into our genetics since Genesis, and the good word on the street be that each time a Black woman slays your edges, an angel gets its baby hair, giver of a new dew and a new life, for folk be born again when they leave our chairs or from in between our knees, for they both be a heaven this world don't even deserve. For heavy is the head that wears the tangled crown, but anointed are the hands that tend the tender and itchy scalps and know how to build an entire kingdom from scratch. So that's one of my favorite poems. Just if you ain't never sat between a Black girl's legs before and had your hair braided, or had your scalp greased, and you have never lived life. How about that? This next poem is one that I would like to do that is actually, if I can find it, I'm scrolling through computers. There was this thing I did called slam poetry where I did a lot of memorizing poems. I think the older I get, I'm starting to just understand how sacred it is to also read poems from a piece of paper or from a notebook or from or whatever you're reading from. So this is for, if you've ever seen the movie Color Purple. Shoot, I had the poem. How about we'll skip that poem until I can get it to pull up on the computer, because it's doing a lot of skipping around. This poem is for Sibley, called The Black Madonna. If you've ever seen the movie Color Purple, you know the story of Sibley and how she had to learn to love herself, and how another Black woman taught her how to do so. So she called me a virgin, and I wanted to call her a blasphemer because I know what virgin means. I also know what somebody climbing on top of me to do his business means. See, the man who me and my sister Nettie called our father showed me first. Then the man who name I ain't even much know, so till Suge say it first, so I call him Mr. They beat it into my bones with their mouths and their fists and their bodies, so I forgot that I even had a body. Thought all this body was good for was business and birthing babies. So when she say, why, Miss Seeley, that means you still a virgin. I remember that to be virgin means to be desired, to be praised and worshiped like an idol, not to have your body used simply as confessional, like it be an ugly secret. A show is ugly secret, like maybe it be a place for sinners to come and spill all they moonshine sins. But see, one day, I was feeling down. I was feeling mighty low when she gave me permission to stop hiding behind a closed mouth and pride opened legs, to finally see myself the way I came into this world without burden or shame, to smile big and wide and free of judgment. And that day when I seen me in that mirror, I know there's a God. I know that I ain't have to follow no man alive on earth in order to find heaven. And it got me to thinking about Mary, how her body was only used for business and birthing babies too. That ain't nobody ever take the time to peel back the black and the ugly to find her wings or find her angel enough to ever know heaven, even though Mary's body was what everyone else needed to get to heaven themselves. Funny how others will crucify your body to get to a place that they don't even find you worthy of being. So Mary, I think about you all the time. Like, sister, you've been on my mind. Like, I know what it's like to only be worth your weight and what you can do for mankind, and how you ain't asked for none of this, not even Joseph's sorry ass hand in marriage. And how even though your name be used by some to lift the heavy of heavenly petitions or praise only for what you have pushed out and not pushed back, how you still be seen as confessional, as a place for sinners to come and spill all of their sins and cover you with their guilt, but never will they erase the holy of you. And why, Mary, that means you still a virgin. And I'll do one more short one, I guess, and then we'll, I guess, can get the conversation, which I'm sure is what everybody came here for, since that's the show's tagline, right? To get to know the poet behind the work. So the last poem that I want to do before we go to break is, man, these computers are something else. They run slower and slower. I feel like I'm going around in circles. So this poem is called, there's two names for it. One is the N word, and one is actually nebula, which means, you can look that up. It's a cosmic occurrence that is beautiful and timeless. And I like to think of myself and my people as such. So you too Black, right? Like, ain't come over here with a passport or a visa Black. Like, to bottom of the cargo ship Black, to bottom of the Atlantic Black, to bottom of the melting pot Black. You the kind of Black that ain't never really been nowhere. Got one foot stuck in a plot of land that carries your blood, but someone else's name. The other foot anchored in your own forgetful mouth. You too loud Black. A Black that everything that wishes to be Black tries to swallow. Everybody want to tell your story Black, want to sing your song and not call it karaoke Black, mimic your cool and disregard all the scorching summers that made you this Black. You to bottom of the spaceship Black, a Black that this world can't even behold, a Black so infinite that when you are told to go back where you came from, you know that that means everywhere. That's been my time.
And the crowd goes wild.
Thank you.
We're cheesy like
Thank
that.
y'all for bearing with me and the slow computer. You know, when you have a document that's super long, you're like skipping through and you're like, what page am I on? But we made it.
We all been there. Such amazing work. And I feel like because you have such a body of work that just getting those 3 little samplings, I'm just kind of like, ooh, but give me more, which we'll get more later. But so before we went into it, I mentioned, you are a curator of spaces, a curator of events and whatnot, and bringing people together and creating this community. But 2020 said no to all of that. There is no bringing people together in real life right now. So how has 2020 affected kind of the events you do and the things that you do on a regular?
Right. So when COVID first occurred, we had a meeting at my job. I was in the middle of opening an exhibition. Like, it was opening night when we got the meeting that, hey, we have to shut everything down. And we thought, oh yeah, we'll come back in like a week and the exhibit will still be up and people will come see it. Well, that exhibit is still up and still has been unseen in person to this day. And that was the weekend of March 16th, I think. And so, yeah, it's really transformed. Like, and I know a lot of people will say this, you had to become innovative in how we present things. And of course, this virtual world is one way in which we knew it was going to happen. It was already coming to this with so many things being available online and like the technology just growing. But also in thinking about how to do things now that some spaces are open. I know some people are comfortable with that. Some people aren't, and doing very small, customized, curated spaces where, we take all the precautions we can. But yeah, everything is literally gone to virtual. I done changed the background of my house so many different times and tried to do different setups and different lightings. Like, I'm really over it, and I miss people. I miss stages and just that energy of what's in the room with you, and that's what we came together for initially. I think as poets was the fellowshipping of it. I think most of us fell in love with the page and the paper first, but eventually, especially as spoken word artists and as slam, people who dabble in slam poetry, that energy of what's in the room is like what really feeds us a lot of the time. And so not being fed that can do something to the soul and to the spirit. So you got to find other ways to nourish yourself. And sometimes that's, finding new ways to cook up the same recipe.
Now, one of those collaborations that I saw somewhat recently, was with Tank and the Bangers. It was a music video. Can you talk about that, or how was it? How long has it been since that was produced and whatnot?
So that was actually right before COVID. I want to say it was the end of January this year. My good friend Tank is good for popping up with a surprise on you. So I think me and Sunny initially thought we were just going to go to the studio and like hang out and do something. She's like, yeah, I want to record. We're going to do something. And we had no idea like the magnitude of this project and how many amazing New Orleans artists, and not just New Orleans artists, but New Orleans artists who are actually international, like the PJ Mortons and so many of, the people that were on the roster. But yeah, that song is now receiving a Grammy nod and will hopefully, receive a Grammy nomination, and we'll see. I hope to be, I don't know how many poets have Grammys, yet actual spoken word artists or poets, because they always give it to people who are like reading books. Like, I think Obama might have a Grammy in spoken word.
Yeah, Michelle Obama, I think, won, and it's like, yeah, okay, you're Michelle Obama.
Al Gore.
We'll let you have it. But you mentioned how we're trying to, in this new world and in these new spaces that we're in, you have to find new ways to nourish yourself. How are you nourishing yourself and making sure that you, as a person, as an artist, is still 100 when the world is on fire?
Learning to be very gentle with myself. We artists sometimes can be very very hard, very judgmental of our own selves and our own work, especially we've done work that's been based in competition before, or that's been put up against other work. And so during this time, I've at the encouragement of friends, of course, have learned to do those exercises and being gentle with myself. And if I'm having a day where it's like I can't create, I think I saw Ebony Stewart, shout out to Ebony, put up a post recently that was like, how many people are feeling like you're kind of in a creative slump or not feeling as productive. And I I don't want to say that I revel in seeing that when other people post it, but it's like, okay, I'm not by myself right now, because you know, you start to feel like, am I the only person who's just like not able to focus? But when we think about all the things that we are literally dealing with, and man, when you wake up in the morning, you like can say that you washed your ass and made some breakfast, like that's an accomplishment in itself. So then to go say, oh, and then let me crank out some dope art, and then let me try to, you know, manifest this idea that I had or whatever. And yeah, so a lot of self-care and a lot of creating for the sake of creating what I want to create, which is a beautiful thing about kind of stepping away from slam poetry too. It's like, I write now the stuff that I want to write. And sometimes like people may get it. Maybe nobody's seen Color Purple, but this is a story that I can relate to about this lady, or, you know, just writing the things that I need for me. And then if other people can grasp on to it, then hooray. And, you know, it's for who it's for.
Do a lot of movies inspire your work?
I'm a movie, I was a movie and documentary. I still am like a documentary person, but a lot of older movies, definitely. Movies, stories. I try to find inspiration from so many things. I remember I forgot whose workshop it was, but they were saying like, watch other things like silent film or foreign films, or just like art forms that may not be your main, you know, source of whatever. So I have a great respect for filmmakers and movie people, especially after working on you know, a short film recently or whatever. I'm like, the people who can we made a 7-minute long film, and that was a lot of work. So I could imagine, you know, full feature situations. And so yeah, I have a lot of respect for people who dabble in, or not dabble, but who master their other art forms.
Yeah, let's talk about that before we dive. There's a couple of questions in the chat I want to get into, but let's dive into your short film that premiered this past Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday. It was called A Dream for Sale, and I watched it, and it had this very existential to it.
It's like somebody was high when they wrote it or something, right?
Somebody took a few, put some mushrooms on the pizza, and, you know, like the fun kind of mushrooms, the now legal in Oregon kind of mushrooms.
Additionally.
So, you know, it really did have this existential feel where it's like, but what is real? What is reality? Who are we, right? Searching an identity and what defines that. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the meaning and the purpose behind the film, and then also into the production of it? Because, you know, it's 2020, the world is burning, but we're still making art.
We're still making art, right? I was initially approached with the idea. I wasn't supposed to be the actress in the film. It was kind of an idea thrown to me by a friend, Jonathan Isaac Jackson, who is a very ridiculous filmmaker here in New Orleans, who also works with the Colored Section, is the name of the production company. But he told me this premise that another poet, a local poet here, came up with about a scientist who wanted to record her dreams. And so it just kind of spun from that whole idea of like, if we could record our dreams and then go back and see, but it's like, well, what's the dream? Which one is the dream? And then this conversation happened where, like you said, it became this existential something. And then the actress who was supposed to do it wasn't able to. And Jonathan had originally just asked me to help write some of the narrative of it. So I ended up doing it, and we found a French actress to do the narrative for. And don't ask me where the French came from. We were just like, we're in Louisiana, and it's New Orleans. And this would be cool to see people of color or see Black people on film with something in French. And so it just, yeah.
I was gonna ask about the French, but okay, yeah, it definitely has a very like eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Yeah, that kind of feel to it, where you're like, what is real? But it's beautifully done, and it, like you said, it's like a 7-minute film. So if you haven't gone and watched it, y'all, go on the internet. It's on the YouTubes and watch it.
Right. And I know that sometimes what happens with short films is that they're done first as a producer or a filmmaker wants to make a short film first to maybe bridge into a longer film. Is that in that future, or is this going to stay where it's at?
I think this one we've kind of talked about what else could be done with it. But I'm sure there are other projects we'll end up eventually working on together. I know dabble has been my word. It feels like this whole conversation, but I'm dabbling in, this is the second short film, like I said, that I've worked on. The other one, I just helped to write the storyline for it. But yeah, I just want to keep seeing where I could go. I had mastered this short film thing, 7 minutes. I think the other one was around 12 minutes, and we can work our way up to like, half an hour or whatever, and then we'll see.
Yeah. We have a question just on that subject. It sounds Sundancey. Is it entered anywhere? Are we going to see iCon winning some film awards?
Ooh, I would hope so. We're waiting for like different deadlines, or when short film festivals are seeking submissions. And so the plan is, initially we weren't going to release it to the public until we did film festivals first, but we're definitely looking into film festivals right now. But so many people had asked about it, so I'm like, let's just share it with the people.
Well, good luck to you. Hopefully. Let's get to some of these audience questions.
Toes are like this too. Fingers and toes.
Let's get to some of these audience questions. So you kind of talked about it a little bit, but Bruce is asking, what are your artistic self-preservation practices when it comes to this lack of audience? Because I feel you as a theater person and a stage thing. This whole virtual life just does not at all compare, and I can't wait to get back to a live audience. So what are you doing to help keep you kind of sane and grounded when performing to the void?
Going back to that thing I said again, where I'm doing it more so for myself, because it does feel like then I'm the audience. I think I said in another interview before, like even being aware of the poems that I choose to do. I think the selection has been different during this time. I'm able to experiment a little more and do things that are a little less performance and more conversational, or, things of that nature. Also, in preserving myself is like diving into my other art forms. Like if I can't do as much performance art and get as much satisfaction out of performance art, then it's like, well, let's do the visual art that doesn't require as much of a participatory audience, or, work on the film doesn't require as much of a participatory audience. So yeah, finding a way to, just try to do the other things that bring some kind of joy.
Nice.
Performing for myself in the mirror.
Do you think that when the poems are, like when there's no audience there to bounce the poem off of, one, does it sound a little bit different to you? And does it maybe affect you introspectively as an artist as you're doing it?
Oh yeah, I think it does. Because you have like no, I won't say interruption of it, of the poem. Mm-hmm. So you're cognizant of all of the whatever. And so then the Virgo and the artist in me then starts going, oh, that line sounds funny when you read it out loud. Like I'm paying way more attention than I probably should to the silence that's on the other end. But also I think that's it builds I guess appreciation for your work too, because it's like, okay, well, I wrote it and I have to sit with it and it's mine. And yeah, whether people applaud or not. And also get you out of that needing to have the applause. So I think when we finally do get applause again, we'll definitely cherish it a whole lot more. It won't just be like, we'll clap for me because I'm an icon. I deserve applause. Like, no.
Yeah. Well, the silence definitely shouts back sometimes, and you're like, and it sits very differently.
They did it. That's when y'all came back on and there was applause. I'm like, hold up, what? Where?
We liked it. iCon deserves all the applause. All the applause.
All of it.
So speaking of things deserving applause, we have another question here from the audience in terms of the work that you've done. And this may be getting into the weeds, but Ryan says, I remember through the grapevine that you did prison outreach at one time with poetry or writing. Is there a specific topic or prompt that you remember being particularly effective with those individuals?
Oh, yes, I did. Man, that's so funny you mentioned that, because that's been a thought that's come up recently about how much I kind of miss that work and miss those men. I worked mostly with men. I also worked with young men this summer in juvenile facilities. It's hard to say a particular prompt that works because all the situations are different, like all the different populations. I don't want to generalize and say, well, this prompt works for men who are incarcerated, or you never know what you might, where you are and what the climate is or what they're feeling like on that day. But I do find that allowing the space to open up. I always do. Well, I'll say what I usually do when I'm teaching classes. So I do a lot of journaling initially, because in situations like that, sometimes it's hard for people to be vulnerable because vulnerability is dangerous in those kinds of environments. So a lot of journaling and allowing them the space to write what they need to write, unfiltered, unjudged, or whatever. And I let them keep the journals. Like, we never read it. If they want to share something, they can share or not. And I feel like, though, that's like the best prompt I can say is no prompt, like just allowing them the opportunity and space, because there's always a framework around everything they do every day, right? So it's like when they have the opportunity to write. And I was always just so amazed by the work that came out of the guys who were in those facilities. I used to actually take some of the college students who I worked with and let them go and slam against my men who were locked up. And when I tell you, none of my college teams have ever beat the guys. Ever. So they're just brilliant. I always think some of the most brilliant minds, unfortunately, are in those situations, and the creativity that they have. And I've talked to many of them who are out now and like have stepped into doing poetry in whatever cities they're in now, or published their books. Some amazing people in some, not so good situations, unfortunately.
I've done some of those workshops, especially in juvie. I've done a few of the juvie workshops, and I guess my question to you is, how much of the stories that are there do you leave there, and how much do you bring home with you, and how does that affect your work?
I brought it all home with me, unfortunately. This summer was a hard one too, especially with the COVID, and I was working in person at a facility. I had a notebook that I bought specifically for that experience, because every day I was writing a poem, like just trying to get out what I experienced there and couldn't say, and couldn't express or whatever. But yeah, I would bring a lot of it home. And then especially in New Orleans, like the community is so close and tight knit, like it's 1 degree of separation everywhere here. And so you'll have instances where it might be, without getting too personal, but I had a situation this summer where one of the students, something happened in the community, and, community was involved in like being a part of trying to help rectify the situation or whatever. And it was just like really crazy, because I knew about the situation at work, and then it was like in the community where also, people were marching or talking about it or trying to come up with solutions for, So I say all that to say it's hard to take that off and hang it up when you come home, because I still think about it all the time and think about all those young men. As much as a lot of them may say, you can leave and go back home and you're not worried about us here, like they all like really impact me probably more than I ever impacted them, to be honest. I'm just another teacher who came through the classroom, and for me they're like so much potential, and I'm constantly keeping them in my prayers and my thoughts and my, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, as a writer, you never have time off. Everything is constant inspiration. It's constant source. It's constant, fodder for what ends up becoming your work. So there is no time off for a writer, and you carry all of your experiences with you. What are some of the things that have influenced your work, your style, like your inspirations? You mentioned Mahogany Brown earlier, but is there certain authors or certain identities or something that really drives your work?
Yeah. It was something I ran away from for a long time. So a lot of people I think think I'm originally from New Orleans. I'm not. I'm from a little town, like you said in my bio, Alexandria, Louisiana, which is about 3 hours west of New Orleans. And so I think I'm now paying more attention to the environment that kind of raised and created me, which is this small, cute town of good country folk who, get together in somebody's backyard and cook, and everybody's a part of everything and a part of everybody's family, and community's really community. And so I feel like that's my biggest inspiration, is like when I look at those people. And so when I do poems about the little Black girls with big names, that's from the girls I knew growing up in my neighborhood. Or when I talk about braiding hair on the front porch, whatever, that's the environments I grew up with, going to get your hair braided on somebody's porch or in their living room. Or so those stories all come back to my mind. The first place I ever stood up to speak in public was at my little country Baptist church, a little white wooden building, in the middle of a community across the street from my aunt's house, a block up the street from my grandmother's house. Everything was just there and in vicinity. And so I think that's my biggest inspiration right now. I want to tell those stories finally, visually, poetry, whatever. And so that's the aim of my work at this moment, is to highlight those, and especially, like the Black mamas, grandmas, aunties, cousins.
Is that a recent addition to your bio to say from Alexandria originally?
It is. I had to be clear and clarify, because as much as I do owe a lot of my artistic everything to New Orleans, I've been in the city for over 20 years. It's a huge part of my life. I just turned 40, so half of my life has been here, half of my life, in Alexandria. I just want to make sure that I'm paying homage and giving credit where credit is due. So I consider myself bi-coastal in Louisiana, one foot in central Louisiana and the other foot in the Gulf.
That in San Antonio sometimes, like I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, which is south of here, like 4 hours from San Antonio. So I have trouble sometimes saying that I'm from San Antonio, even though I've been here for 25 years, right? Mm-hmm. And is New Orleans is that same way, where like are you allowed to say that you're from New Orleans? Are you a New Orleanian, or are you like?
I'm of it, not from it. No, I would never want to claim and say I'm from it. I'm very proud to be a Central Louisiana girl, and to just I consider myself a true. You have a true Texan or a true Louisianian. Like my family ranges from I have family from Shreveport, which is at the top of Louisiana, all the way down to New Orleans. So, I'm good on, like they say, I'm good on any MLK Boulevard. I'm good in any city I step in.
True Louisiana, and grew up on the stoop, yes. having lemonade and sweet tea.
Right, come on with the sweet tea.
Come through with the sweet tea.
I had some. I know this sound real country and real Black, but I did eat some collard greens and cornbread today. It was vegan collard greens and vegan cornbread, but.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. We make cornbread in this house.
Like my grandmother said, I don't know what traditions y'all have, but my great grandmother would be like, "Don't waste no utensils, and you better eat that with your hands." So
we make cornbread in this house on the regular. I married a country boy. I know all about it. So let me ask you, because you mentioned that you feel responsible to tell these stories, right, of the people from where you came from and whatnot. And as we found out in your bio, you've got a book coming out later this year. So what are some of the things on the horizon for iCon? What is some of the new work that you're diving into or in releasing?
That whole thing about the healing work, I really, as much as I appreciate speaking to things that are going on, I also want to make work that envisions what could be or what I want to be. And so a lot of the work now is going back and reclaiming things and reclaiming power, reclaiming names. And so when the little girl's big names thing was the big thing. And so I wanted this book to be about names, and not just what we call ourselves, but what we answer to, how we see ourselves and how we define that for ourselves. And so it's going back to those people who may not have had the opportunity to name themselves or to claim that power, and doing that in honor of and legacy of. And so this work now focuses on that. I'm really proud of this book and will be thankful when my OCD ass can take my hands off of it and just like let it be and release it to the public. So hopefully I'll be sharing with everybody the cover art soon, and you'll be able to pre-order the book. In addition to the book, I will. The plan is to also do some kind of visual and performance art release that will coincide with it. And I'll be recording more visuals, not like the short film, well, in line with the short film kind of that I did, where there's visuals that go along to some of the poetry. Who knows? The sky is the limit. We in a quarantine, so we got nothing but time and technology on our hands.
iCon gonna drop the next lemonade, y'all. That's what's gonna happen.
Winter 2020.
No, I love a good beat. Don't come for me, but you know she got a lot of them visuals from Louisiana. So all that swamp and that white and that I'm gonna let it stay there. But you know that's her family's background. It's supposedly Creole or whatever. So I give props to her for paying homage to that. Oh, Eddie's face.
Yeah. Ryan McMaster says, let me know so I can throw money at you. So if people do want to throw money at you, where can they find some of your work right now? Or pre-order when it comes out?
Pre-order. So I'm going to be honest too. I felt like I had to be one of those people where everything needs to be perfect before I do things. Like the website needs to be redone and I need to have the shop up on the website so people can get the merch and get to this and that. And I was just literally about to pull the little strands of hair I still got left out my scalp and finally just said, I'm going to put it up and probably post within the next week or so, like how everybody can pre-order. And it'll maybe be something simple like a link on my website or, go to an Amazon or something. I'll make it really, really simple.
Cute.
Really simple. But along with the book, I'm also planning to release other merchandise, posters, wearable merch like T-shirts, possibly.
No.
Oh, we are glitching.
Things like that. Pins, Oh, it's still in. Oh, there we go.
Okay, and we're back. There we go. We were having some technical difficulties during sound check. I was going to go into commercial break and just be like, while we get iCon back, if you'd like to tip her, go to Cash App or PayPal, iCon the Artist, or www.icontheartist.com. But we got you back. So,
Vocab's on here, and she's just said that your hat. She said, "Come through with that hat." So there's some props out for the hat. I thought it was nice too. So that particular style choice for the evening, is that what you normally wear on a Thursday night? Is it just for poetry's sake? We need to know.
Oh no, I think she's frozen again.
So let's put the Cash App
something
again.
On a regular Thursday night. Where are we?
Oh, so it's something for a regular Thursday.
So I won't lose nothing. Yeah, I'm usually in either covered in paint or I'm cutting in and out. Oh no.
No, you're good now. You're good now.
Where are we? I'm good now. Okay, I'm gonna stay right here. I'm not gonna move at all. On a regular Thursday night, I'm either at one or two extremes. I'm covered in paint or I'm super fly. There's no in between. I'm either a complete bum or So y'all caught me on a good Thursday.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've seen you all over the place at random times, and you always seem super fly to me. Because you've been out there, and I feel like I want to say somebody said this about you're out there. You've done a lot. You're a staple in your community and an icon besides being an icon. But you're kind of like a local legend, right? To one of those things where like everybody knows you in this kind of like Louisiana, Texas circle, and the rest of the world needs to know you. But for as much as people know, there's some things they don't know. What are some things we don't know about iCon that we should know?
Oh Lord, I can't give away all my business, but I don't know. I guess one of those would be that like poetry was not my first art form or or it wasn't my main, prior to doing poetry. I was like, I played sports. I was an athlete and a potential medical student. I was in school to be a doctor initially. I know a lot of people are like, how do you go from being bio pre-med and master's in public health to a poet? And yeah, it just kind of happened that way. A lot of people don't know that I do dabble in visual art, I guess. What is something else a lot of people don't know about me? I'm extremely shy. I think I put on my Instagram, there's like on the tag, it says antisocial socialite or something of that nature. But I am so socially awkward and whatever. So a lot of the times what people sense is humility is maybe sometimes me just like being just super awkward because yeah, I don't ever see myself as one of the cool kids. I have to convince myself that I am most times. I'm still the only child in my room, like playing with all my little gadgets and toys, not having to worry about anybody else in my world. Yeah, so that was the other thing, only child. I had grew up with lots of invisible friends. I don't know. Still talk to a lot of them. We're still in contact.
So let me rapid fire here real quick. Favorite ice cream?
Ooh, I don't really eat ice cream. I'm lactose intolerant.
All right, there you go. Favorite liquor?
Favorite X-Men? Ooh, wine, champagne, all of them.
Favorite X-Men?
I don't do comic. I don't know X-Men. I don't know Marvel or DC. I don't know the difference.
There you go. Favorite Cajun dish?
All of it. Boudin. I don't know. Yeah.
Favorite place to nap?
Oh, everywhere. Couch, sofas. Sofas are the best places to nap. We have options. You can lie down. You can sit up. You can, comfortable. You can catch a corner. Yeah. You can sit there and kind of act like you're still awake, but you're, just resting your eyes.
Do you intentionally nap, or do you kind of just pass out on the sofa because it's like been a day?
I'm 40 years old now. I intentionally nap. I saw someone put up a meme that was like, when I was a kid, the two things I hated was taking a nap and being spanked. And now that I'm older, those are my two favorites.
We shall take it. I definitely fell victim to the accidental nap earlier today. I was just there on this couch and then I'll
look. Those are the best ones. Especially when you wake up and you got that little right there.
Yeah.
That's when you knew it got good. You'd be like, oh, what I done done?
What happened? And then like your boss tells you shouldn't have done that, and it's just a mess.
Well, speaking of, you said you are 40 years old. You are the epitome of Black Don't Crack, because I don't think you've ever looked a day over 22.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Looking fresh and feeling fine.
Now you've
minding your business and hydrating.
You've traveled some for poetry, and I know you've traveled for a number of slam venues and different national slams and regional slams. What's your favorite city in which to perform poetry? Aside from New Orleans or Alexandria, I'm sure.
Oh man, that's hard.
Top three.
Texas be so good to you, It doesn't matter where you go in Texas. Like, Texas is always so good to you. Doesn't matter if it's Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Laredo, Austin. Like, Texas is always. It would be somewhere between Texas and North Carolina, somewhere in North Carolina. Always, yeah. The love is just.
Okay.
That's right. You hear that, poets? Come to Texas when in 2022 when the world opens up again.
Everything.
And not in July, because I've seen, I know that you were in July in Laredo once, and it was like 105 at night, and I know that that was a thing. That was just kind of a little disrespectful of Laredo, I
think. You see that side eye? See that side eye?
We said who invited us to hell to have this slam? It was so hot. I had never at 10 p.m. experienced 105-degree weather. That was crazy, but it was so beautiful in Laredo, it made you forget about it.
This is true.
That
This is
freeze.
true. That's Southwest shootout a few years ago. Yes, you're freezing, but we still heard you. We heard everything, which is fine. You know, apparently Thursday night is the night that people do virtual shows, but we were here first, y'all. Okay,
Right.
go claim another night of the
There
week.
must be something going on. I've never experienced this much freezing. Yeah. We're making it.
It's all good. That's literally where we're at in 2020. We are making it as best as we can. And I think you have definitely proven that you can still make it in this craziness. You released a short film. You're dropping a book. Like so much work that you have done. And we are just so glad and blessed that you were able to take the time to find the time to be with us here tonight. So thank you so much for coming through and spending a Thursday night with us.
Thank you for having me. This has been a cool Thursday night and one of the cooler virtual situations
Well,
I've been a part of. It's like sitting back talking to family for old time's sake.
Yeah.
I really miss that, being able to just be like, hey, there's a show in whatever, and getting in the car and driving to Texas. But soon, hopefully.
2022.
Yeah.
We'll see you then. Will you do us the honor of closing us out?
Act right in 2021.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. Wear your masks, people.
So wear your mask, people. Wear your mask. So I'm gonna close out, I guess, with one of my favorite poems. That's for all the women who helped make me. So I watched Mama Dia take a few cups of cornmeal, a half a gallon of milk, and a couple of eggs, and feed her entire family. I watched my grandmothers take the bitterness of divorce and turning them into some of the sweetest homemade cakes you've ever tasted. I watched my own mother take an unplanned teenage pregnancy and years of ridicule and turn into over 30 years of marriage, a career in education, and an award-winning poet for a daughter. See, I'm from a long line of women who know how to take life's most bitter ingredients and turn them into something worth licking your plates for. Women whose palms are laced with wrinkles and stardust, who weave miracles from misfortune. So you can call them women, call them mothers, call them alchemists, hell, even call them magicians, but whatever you call them, you better make sure you call them ma'am or missus, because they are the type of women who demand respect. No hand on hip or roll of neck to keep you in check. Nah, my mama, my grandma, and Mama Dia, they the type of women whose eyes say everything their mouths never need to. See, the women in my family, they inhale life's pollution and exhale gospel. They are walking, talking hymnals, perfect verses of chestnut skin and big bones set over organs and strong heartbeats, all testimony and healing, all holy and how I got over. See, the women in my family, they be bridges over troubled waters. Beautiful examples of how to take life's storms and turn them into baptisms. And some days I don't feel worthy of this kind of salvation. I know that I have been saved by their blood, sweat, and tears. Some days, no matter how much I accomplish, I wonder if I am doing such a legacy any justice. Oh, what a cross to bear. See, this world will try to make you forget the strength in your own spine, even when it's in your DNA to bend and never break, even after you give and give and give and never take anything for yourself. See, we are sometimes seen as saviors, but never as angels. That's why we've had to learn to take the scars on our shoulders and carve out our own wings, which is to say, we don't need the world to tell us we fly. Although it would be a nice gesture, well-deserved recognition, but thankfully, our mamas, our grandmas, our Medias, they taught us how to be our own tambourines, which is to say, they taught us how to shake the devil off our backs and Holy Ghost dance all over his neck. See, their ancestors taught them that. These were the things that could not be drowned in the Atlantic Ocean, and for them we say, hallelujah. For all those who came before us, we say, thank you, God. For I am from a long line of women who know how to turn classrooms and kitchens into pulpits, the type of women who have taught me that when your life becomes a sermon that no one else wants to hear, sometimes you got to be your own. Amen. Amen.
Amen, y'all. Amen.
Thank you for that very necessary work. That you did.
Thank you.
And if you want to find more about iCon,
miss y'all.
Hearts to everyone. If you want to find more about iCon, make sure you follow her on Instagram, iCon the Artist. Go to her webpage, icontheartist.com. That way you can be in the know, in the loop when she drops that cover art, when her book goes on pre-sale, when she wins the Sundance Film Award. Stay connected. Follow her on the social medias and show her some love. You can send her some or a Grammy. You can totally tip
everything y'all throwing down. I'm picking up, okay?
We putting it out into the universe.
All the E's.
Until then, you can also tip her. She's on Cash App and PayPal, iCon the Artist. Tip the poet. We're virtually passing the hat right now. We're passing that very fashionable hat that she is wearing at the moment.
Please fill it up. Fill up my cup.
But thank you for spending this time with us, iCon. We are blessed. Grazie.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I am blessed. Thank you, guys. Love y'all.
Yeah. All right, man. That was an awesome interview. We're winding down this year.
Yeah.
This season, if you will, our first season.
I don't think we announced that we're winding the season. This is our second to last show, and our last show will be next week, and then we're going to break for the holidays because I don't know. I think that's a thing people do. But
this is our penultimate show, if you will.
Yeah.
So who is on the ultimate show?
Well, next week to close out our first season, and when I say season, I think we've had like 32 episodes. We've been doing this every week since April. To close us out, we have none other than America's Got Talent season 15 winner, Brandon Leak, will be joining us on Words and Shit next week. So that should be interesting. He's touring. Huh?
It's going to be extremely interesting. We're having another very famous poet with us.
Verified Czech famous. He's touring through Texas in the coming weeks between November and December. So he's going to take some time to drop into our virtual studio, talk about life, how it's changed since America's Got Talent, how it stayed the same, I don't know, and his upcoming show. So be sure to tune back in next week for our final show of the season before we break for the holidays. Until then, you can always catch up on past episodes that are now available via our podcasts.
That's right. Wherever you find your podcast, it's there.
So go check them out. We're releasing new episodes, previous episodes every week. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Words and Shh.
That's right. Words and shh. And that's not because we didn't want to do words and shit. It's just that Twitter didn't let us. So we're Words and shh.
Because somebody already had it. Somebody who hasn't posted in 4 years. I'm really upset about that. Anywho. And make sure that you follow Write Art Out on Instagram and Facebook so that you can catch up on all the things that they are putting out, including writers' workshops, open mics, youth workshops, etc. So until next week, y'all, that was Eddie Vega.
And that was Chiverdunia.
Stay safe, y'all.
Wear a mask.